Repeat his name, Sai Ram, Sai Ram. Say it with love, Sai Ram, Sai Ram. Picture his form, Sai Ram, Sai Ram. He is everywhere, feel him shining within you. Ram, 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 Sai Ram, 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 Ram. Ram, 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 Sai Ram, 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 Ram. Ram, 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 Sai Ram, 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 Ram. Ram, 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 Sai Ram, 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 Ram. Repeat his name, Sai Ram, Sai Ram. My most humble pranams at the divine lotus feet of Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba. Sai Ram to all my dear brothers and sisters and all fellow journey folks on this journey of spirituality to our inner transformation. Sai Ram, I play this word puzzle called Wordle every day. And you know, I don't believe in coincidences. I try to make my life all about Sai incidences. And today I said, okay, whatever word it is, you solve for a word, and whatever word it is, it has a meaning for me today. The word was gleam. And when I looked, G-L-E-A-M, it's a 5-letter word. The word was gleam. And when I went to find the dictionary meaning of gleam, it said a faint or brief light, especially one reflected from something. Shine brightly, especially with reflected light. So my most humble prayer today to Swami is to please let me borrow his brilliance, his effulgence, and maybe shine a little with his borrowed light so that I may speak whatever he needs to get across to this august audience. Thank you to Region 8 for inviting me, and it is always an honor and privilege to be at Sai Prema Nilayam, and especially such an honor and privilege to be speaking here. I know that these opportunities come as a result of somewhere in my youth or childhood, I must have done something good. If you've heard that song, this is something I'm sure that comes out of something like that. So thank you, Swami, thank you, everybody. Aradhana Mahotsavam. What a beautiful way to celebrate this constant source of joy, of light, of divine guidance, someone who is constantly with us, around us all the time, and someone who guides us from every small thing in life to all the big steps, including the steps we've taken to be here together and in each other's presence today. What a way to celebrate Swami, and what a way to do that with Aradhana. I think a very key word has been chosen. Aradhana means worship. Aradhana means adoration. Aradhana means expression of our devotion. For what else can we do in this world if not express our adoration for the divine source that shines in all of us? Can you imagine? None of us would know each other. None of us, we'd pass each other in the road and walk across, ships sailing past each other, and now we recognize divinity in each other while walking. What brilliance is this? Talk about miracles. Is there a bigger miracle? We say Sai Ram to each other constantly because we recognize Swami in us constantly. Whereas other times we may have either ignored each other, or we may have noticed other unnecessary, more worldly things, or we may have just, maybe turned our head away because we were in a bad mood. But with Swami amidst us, we say Sai Ram. We adore him in each other because of his divine presence to us. So therefore, let us first thank Swami for bringing us together and for being that spark in our lives within us. When I think about worship, I was thinking, I don't have grand experiences. I don't have profound truths. So I was wondering what can be something that can be shared that'll make us all connect with Swami. And I was thinking, maybe we can think about various ways of adoring Swami. And maybe that can be a good way. All of us like that subject, right? We're all here because we like that concept. So if we all converge on this fact that there are various ways to adore Swami, maybe that'll be something really worthwhile and interesting for all of us to talk about. So with that, let's start with the ways in which each of us adored Swami. By adoring that form, whether you went to Prasanthi Nilayam or not, whether you saw him physically or not, the first thing that brought you to him was his form. So we adored the Swami outside us. In this adoration of Swami outside us, I want to share one concept, one small nugget, which is small acts of service. Swami has always stressed the importance of service. And Swami has said service is about the transformation process. And it doesn't matter the size of the service or the depth of the service. The real importance is how you do it. So in this story of how we adore Swami outside us, I want to start with an example of small acts of service. Swami says, the service done may be a small one, but if it is done with a large heart, it can yield great results. What result did it yield this time? It was 2009 Christmas, and we were part of the international chorus, the international choir, which offers a combination of choral songs, Christmas carols, and lots of different things in Swami's divine presence the day before Christmas. And we were practicing for 10, 12 days, morning, noon, and night. There were 600 participants in the choir. Everyone was singing their hearts out. And then we, based upon our singing parts, whether we sang tenor or alto, and based upon whether it was our first time or not, we got to sit in various places in the audience. So because it was my first time, 2009, I got to sit basically on this side, the last person on the second row, so basically where Arjun is sitting, the last person on the second row, on this side, leading directly up to the stage where Swami would sit. And Swami was in a wheelchair in 2009, so he would come he would come all the way from his residence and go all across. The gentleman take a large U-turn, and then, of course, go up the ramp. So we were sitting here, and there were similarly sisters sitting on the other side. And it was kind of there was kind of excitement, kind of not. And I'll tell you why. The excitement was when we sang, Swami would be right there. So that is, you are literally singing to the Lord. So very exciting position to be. You can see there was only one piano player in front of me, and he was bending down to play notes all the time. So my view was clear. So I was super happy about that. And, but the vibe bittersweet is Swami was going to go all the way around, which means the brothers who are in Vikas's position or Bala's position have the advantage. Because Swami's going to come in that way. Swami's not going to come in this way. So it was kind of this, this moment where we are like, oh, this will be nice to sing to Swami, but how can we be closer to the divine presence? And I told you, I don't believe in coincidences. I believe in coincidences. I believe the sisters on the other side maybe had the same notion. So what did they do? Small act of service. They looked down. It was a maroon carpet. And as you can see, against maroon, specks of dust start showing up very clearly. So they looked down, and one sister just very meditatively started picking up dust, picking up specks. Oh, there's a small, kind of a tiny twig there, end of a thread, like very, very small pieces. The one sister started doing that, another sister started doing that next to her. Opposite, I'm noticing like things are being picked up from across the aisle. So I'm like, ooh, yes, we should also be doing this service. So I start picking up things. Behind me, two gentlemen start doing. Suddenly, that portion of the carpet was gleaming. It was shining bright because we were picking up all of these pieces and there was no speck left. Imagine 20 minutes of you spending time on maybe a foot by foot. That is all your area of focus, right? 1 foot by 1 foot, and you're picking. It almost became a meditation. I was chanting. I don't know what the other people were doing. I was saying Om Shri Sai Ram, Om Shri Sai Ram, Om Shri Sai Ram. So Swami came out. Swami's in the wheelchair. He was moving around. And there was only one thing that caught my eye. Talk about worship, talk about adoration. When Swami we all turned our heads to look at him as he came in. As he came to the end of that carpet, Swami, with his right hand that was on the side pedestal, did this. This is all he did. This move meant so much to all of us. Very small move, but in the grand scheme of things, it meant a lot. What did it mean? It meant he was telling the person behind him, who was moving him, to not take him straight. So, sorry, Bala and Vikas. Swami took a turn onto the carpet and decided to go up the dais from the middle. And therefore, all the small acts of service that we'd had to get the specks of carpet clean actually was blessed with the divine presence going across it. And we got Swami's beautiful effulgence right next to us. He stopped and some ladies were able to touch his divine lotus feet. We could, that very typical jasmine smell that you get only around Swami. We had all of these elements when Swami arose to the stage. And that was such a sweet moment of worship that even now when I think about it, it feels like such, when you think about the external Swami who is in Prasanthi Nilayam, it was such a powerful experience, especially through his end of his form, in his earthly form. It was towards the end of that time. So it was really powerful, and we sang our hearts out, and Swami gave us, he asked for the 2 or 3 extra songs. And so we were able to sit in front and spend 1 hour singing our hearts out to Swami and having him in our presence. And we after the event we were sharing notes, and we were all talking about how beautiful it was that Swami blessed us with his presence for having done a small act of service. But such is his grace. The grace that he gives us outpaces what we do in return, right? 1 step, 100 steps, very true. Like you can do a small little thing and Swami is just showing up in spades for you. That first thing led to another message that same Christmas that came from his external form, which is give up the ego. Minimize the ego. Give up the ego. Small acts of service followed by minimize the ego. How did he communicate that to us? But before that, a quote. Swami said, so long as you have a trace of ego in you, you cannot see the Lord clearly. So long as you have a trace of ego in you, you cannot see the Lord clearly. So, if I think about what happened next, one of the people who sing in the chorus is always tasked with having bhajans ready. Because sometimes Swami will ask the choir to lead bhajans. So that person should be ready with if Swami gives the sign, Sylvia Auntie, who is our chorus director, will make a sign, and that person will launch into bhajan singing. That is what is the expectation. That year, the chosen person was me. So I had the opportunity to be the chosen person. So I prepared my bhajans. I practiced it separately, morning, noon, and night. I remember very clearly, before going to the mandir, Kulwant Hall that day, I looked under my nails. I was like, I have to be spick and span and sparkly because Swami is asking me to sing today. This is how we have to present ourselves. We have to be clean externally, internally. But I'm sure somewhere in the mix, we are human, right? There was a little bit of ego, a little bit of, I get to sing today in Swami's presence. How special is that, right? It was there a little bit. And, Swami cares for our spiritual upliftment at all times. Whatever he gives us, whatever he does, is not just for the world. It is to elevate our spirits. So he was making sure that he was taking care of me from that perspective. So we finished our singing. Sylvia Auntie went up to Swami. And Swami spoke with Sylvia Auntie. My eyes were focused. Literally, just like Hanuman was asked to keep watch when Lord Rama yawned, and he did not take his eyes off of Lord Rama, I was the same way. Because if Swami says sing, wow. So, so looking intently. And then Swami kind of was done with Sylvia Auntie. Sylvia Auntie took Pad Namaskar. She went and sat down. And I thought, oh, no bhajans today. Swami's probably just, has other things. Swami looked right across to the students. There was a skeleton bhajan group. Just 2 or 3 boys were sitting. And Swami said this to them across. And they had a harmonium and things, but I think they thought, oh, this is the Christmas program. There's not going to be a bhajan. But Swami made sure they sang one Ganesh bhajan. One Ganesh bhajan. Then he looked straight at me, and then looked, because I was sitting right there, like so close proximity, and then he called for Aarti. And he was done. It was a very clear message. He was like, I wanted a bhajan, just not from you. It did end there. It didn't end there. Talk about giving up the ego. It did not quite end there. The next day, because we had already made our offering, we got the bonus pass. We could go sit, and there was no stress of, singing or remembering the words or any of that. We just got to sit, and we got to take the darshan. And that day, Russians were visiting. So what they did was, because the choir had sat in front the earlier day, the Russian group from Russia sat in front, and we got to sit a little behind them. So then, same thing happened. Swami comes on stage. So Swami sees a person who was sitting in my position the earlier day. So literally where Arjun is sitting, there's a Russian gentleman sitting. And Swami starts talking to him from here. And this boy gets up on his knees. He's probably 20 years old. And they're talking, and then Swami ends that exchange by saying, sing. To that person sitting in the exact position. And that person is saying, I don't know how to. I'm not a singer. Swami is saying, no, sing. So a mic appears in front of him, same position 24 hours later. And then this person, is very tentative because, again, he didn't think he was a singer, but of course, the Lord makes the mute speak and the lame walk. He can make a Russian non-singer sing. That's not a problem at all. So then, beautifully, he starts breaking out into Manasa bhajare guru charanam dustara bhava sagara taranam Guru Maharaj Guru Jai Jai Sainath Sadguru Jai Jai Om Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya Shivaya Namah Om Arunachala Shiva Arunachala Shiva Arunachala Shiva Aruna Shiva Omkaram Bhava Omkaram Bhava Omkaram Bhava Om Namo Baba Manasa Bhajare Guru Charanam Dustara Bhava Sagara Taranam Guru Maharaj Guru Jai Jai Sainath Sadguru Jai Jai Om Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya Shivaya Namah Om Arunachala Shiva Arunachala Shiva Arunachala Shiva Aruna Shiva Omkaram Bhava Omkaram Bhava Omkaram Bhava Om Namo Baba Manasa Bhajare Guru Charanam Dustara Bhava Sagara Taranam. So, Swami, while interacting with his divine form, gave us the message of do small acts of service and minimize the ego. But the minimize the ego one is not a new one. It's not a new one because as we all know, the ego is the most subtle thing, always creeping up. So it takes a lifetime, many, many lifetimes of learning. So I was reminded of this one time, and this kind of goes to the next portion of how we adore Swami. We adore Swami because he is not in his physical form, but will show up to help in ways and times that we need him the most. He is an absolute source of support. So one way in which we adore him is we think about those times when we know Swami had something to do, or maybe Swami directly had something to do with something we needed very importantly in our lives. And that's the second mode of adoration. And following in this line of give up the ego, Swami, when we first got to know him, which was around 89, 90, we were really trying to figure out what in my house, my mother was the devotee. She was very attached to Swami. I was very attached to bhajans at that time, so lots of connection with music. And my dad was the ambivalent one. That's a pretty common story, right? Across a lot of different households. The sisters and the aunties and the mothers are drawn to Swami, and the brothers and the uncles are following suit. And Swami brings in, through the children and Bal Vikas and SSC. This was not unlike what happened in our house either. But one of the turning moments when my father actually started believing in Swami was connected to this moment around giving up the ego. So, one of the things that Swami has said time and time again, and Jesus has said, is the left hand should not know what the right hand is doing. It's about our urge to talk about the things and glorify small acts that we do, while not recognizing some big, momentous things that other people do around us, right? This notion of, only break the silence if you have something to say to improve it is a good lesson for all of us. But in this case, we were not doing that. We were in Bombay for a wedding, and at this wedding, we actually had tickets to go to Chennai by this one train. And this train goes to Chennai 5 days of the week, and it goes to Trivandrum the remaining 2 days of the week. And the name of the train is the same. It's the Mumbai Express. So the wedding had gotten done, and we were sitting and talking, and we said, we were taking the Mumbai Express the next day. And there was another person in this group at the wedding who said, that's not possible because we are going to Trivandrum the next day. And this train either goes to Chennai or it goes to Trivandrum. I was a teenager, very hot-headed. So I was like, impossible. We know we're going to Chennai tomorrow. You are wrong. We are right. And, I was a precocious child. So I was just, I was very much telling this person from a place of arrogance, from a place of I know everything. And actually, I had my father also join me in this, saying, I asked for the tickets. My nephew booked these tickets. They cannot be wrong. Guess what, brothers and sisters? We were wrong. So my dad has a very important meeting in Chennai, and we had booked the tickets such that we were going to leave at a particular time, and he would reach Chennai the next night, and the third day morning he was supposed to go to this meeting, but of course this train is going to Trivandrum. We were wondering about what is happening here, and then we found the culprits. The two cousins that were asked to go book the tickets had booked it for that day, not the next day. And that day the train was going to Chennai, and we were on it, but we were sitting in the marriage hall as the train had already left. So there was no way we were going to fix the situation. And this is where, giving up the ego and the love for Swami, the adoration for Swami came from my mother. And she told my father, pray to him. Pray to him, and he will find a way to help you. Because it was a really important meeting with my the leaders of his company and the board. So it was a very critical meeting. And my dad was very, very tensed about what to do. And my mother it came to us and encouraged us to pray. So we all decided we would pray to Swami, and we would say, please help us. It is a well-known fact that when things are going really well, and we think the Chennai Express is going to Chennai, Swami doesn't play that big a part in our lives. But when things are not going well, and the Trivandrum Express is going to Trivandrum, and we need to get to Chennai, suddenly Swami becomes our only sole source of support, our only resource, our only person left to call. So we started praying, And then my mother said, she came out of her prayer and she said, we should just go to the station. Swami is telling me, my heart is telling me, we should just go to the station. My father's like, with what? Like, what are we going to do in the station? We have nothing. She said, let's just go. So we run to the station. We're trying to get like something, like an unreserved ticket, like something to be able to board a train to go to Chennai. There's one train, the mail. And so when we are standing there, a gentleman comes up to us. He is wearing, the cap, and he says his name is Shahul Amit, and he's wearing a cap, and it's very evident he's a Muslim gentleman who came up to us at the station. We're standing in line, and he says, "What do you want? What's going on? You're looking tense." And he said, "We said we need to get to Chennai. We have no way." He said, "Don't worry." Shahul Hamid out of nowhere. "Don't worry. I know all the ticket collectors in all the trains, and I can get you in." What would your initial reaction be when you hear that? High suspicion. It's like, what does this man want? Why is he approaching us at a train station? And how much money is this going to cost me? What kind of a scam is this happening? But again, my mom came through. My mom was just like, she was feeling very strongly that Swami was guiding us. So he said, "Give me 300 rupees. I'll go and I know how to subvert this line and get you the tickets. And then meet me at the platform outside this particular compartment." So we start saying, "Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram." We give him the 300 rupees. And this is 1990, where 300 rupees, I think, actually meant something. And so we gave him that, and we are saying, "Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram." And we are standing in this platform with our luggage. No ticket, nothing. We don't know what's happening. We're just standing there. "Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram." My mom starts singing bhajans. We're standing there. My two cousins, the two errant cousins who got us the wrong tickets, were with us. They were at that wedding as well. So they're also standing. And so suddenly there's only 10 minutes left to go, 5 minutes left to go. There was 1 minute left to go. And my mom says, "Swami, I was using this moment to tell my husband that you have the power to change everything. And now, I'm left without an argument. I have no recourse. What am I going to tell him? If I'm standing in the station and the train leaves, this is not going to be a moment that I can use to kind of bring you into his heart." At that time, the train, again, is about to start. We see a person with that hat. He was wearing a purple hat, run up the platform. He runs up to us. And then the train actually starts making all of the conductors are like, "Yeah, everyone get in. We're going. So we have our suitcases ready to go. He takes something in his hand and he thrusts it into our hand. He just says, "Here, take this, go." And then we're seeing the train leave. So we're like, "How much money do we owe you?" And he says, "Don't worry, I'll wait there. These two boys are here, right, in Bombay, the errant nephews, the errant cousins. They'll come and pay me. I'm waiting near that pillar." He says that we throw our luggage in. We have the handful of whatever he gave us. We've boarded. The train leaves. We sit down. We find seats. We sit down. We are actually in a reserved compartment with somehow seats that nobody was occupying. And for the remainder of the 2 days, many ticket collectors came and went, but none questioned our existence. And then subsequently, there was a reservation available in that compartment because, in India, various stations, like you go to Guntakal, you get some tickets and such. So the reservation opened up, and we actually secured a reserved place. Two things happened. One, when we opened the thing he gave us in our hand, my mother had put it into her purse. She opened it. There were 3, those card tickets that you get in India for unreserved compartments. There were 3 of those. So he had bought 3 tickets. There was the entire 300 rupees untouched. So somehow he had bought tickets worth 300 rupees, had not used our money. We went to Chennai. We called my cousins, and they said we couldn't find him. We were trying to give him a little bit of 100 rupees or something to express our appreciation. We searched up and down this platform, and we did not find this man. So we actually from this whole deal came out positive 300 rupees. Where we thought we were going to, we didn't know how we were going to get to Chennai. We were suddenly plus 300. But there was a bigger plus. From that point, there was no turning around for my father. My father, this was Swami's way of making sure that we knew his ways were mysterious and his ways were, you could never question what he could and couldn't do. But once my dad crossed that threshold of faith, as a family, there was no turning back for us. So that's the story of how Swami sometimes will come to us, and we can show our appreciation directly to Swami, but sometimes he comes to us through forms that just helps us in our life's journey. Then we get to a place where we worship Swami all around us. So we worship Swami in the physical form. There are people that Swami sends to us mysteriously that we think is him. We truly believe this was Swami's embodiment that helped us. And then Swami creates this magic of connection between people that is just divine. And you experience that by just being a bystander. So the third message, the first one is small acts of service. The second one is mitigate the ego. The third one is see Swami in all. See Swami in all. And there are many, many, many experiences in life that prompt us to this, seeing Swami in all. But the one that I am constantly reminded of is Spanish Swami. So, when Misai Brahma, Swami expresses himself across all languages and all religions and all countries. And this actually happened in Spain, where my family's, my sister's family, my cousin's family, and I were in Spain for a vacation. And I had to go get the keys to the Airbnb. When I entered the train, so I took a train to go get the keys to the Airbnb. So I entered the train compartment, and there was a strong presence of jasmine in this train compartment. The same smell that I told you about earlier. Swami's calling card, I call it. So I'm in this apartment, and nobody is accompanying me. Everybody is sitting, eating patatas bravas at a nice little cafe, and Sunil is like, it's your Airbnb, you have to go get the keys. So Sunil runs to get the keys. So I am sitting here, and I'm sitting, and there is this moment where I'm just in a train, and I'm, do you get this feeling that there is this feeling of presence and divinity? You may be driving, you may be in front of an altar, you may be experiencing a moment of silence, and you feel this energy. There is something, something that feels positive and strong. So I'm having this feeling. And then there is something that's happening in front of me that is validating this feeling of divinity. And that's what I wanted to talk about. How people around us see divinity constantly and how we should be encouraged to do the same. In this compartment was an older gentleman who was extremely, extremely well groomed. He still had a thick head of silver hair. It was trimmed very neatly. He was clean shaven. He had a coat and a shirt and a tie and pants and nice shiny shoes. He seemed to be in his 70s. He seemed to be successful. He was reading a newspaper. He was giving all signs of success and prosperity. Further down in that same compartment was a very disheveled homeless person. So there was a person who was, it was clear, so they had not showered in a while. Their clothes were extremely unkempt and dirty. You could actually see, dirt on their clothes in various positions. Their hair was shaggy. They were scratching, and they were not in a good place from either a physical appearance perspective or from a mental health perspective. It was clear. They were going and shouting at this person here. They were talking to that person here. So I'm watching, and in my head is, of course, I'm in Spain, so there's a Spanish bhajan in my head. And I'm singing this Spanish bhajan. I'm feeling Swami's presence. I'm just jamming. I'm just jamming to my own beat. And I'm seeing this unfurl in front of my eyes. this man is coming closer and closer to the very, very successful gentleman. And I am waiting for an eruption. Can you imagine? There's this very, very proper, prosperous, successful gentleman. And there is this person who, you know, if they came up to me, I wouldn't know how to react, to be very honest. And I'm seeing them come up to the gentleman, and I'm like, something's going to happen here. But also, I'm like, why am I feeling all of these positive vibes? Why am I singing this lovely Spanish song? Why am I feeling Swami's presence? Something else is going to happen. So this person comes and plonks himself right next to the older gentleman and starts to kind of touch his shoulder. This man is reading a newspaper. He turns, he looks at him, he's touching, and I'm going, there is something happening here. I'm feeling like a connection to the bigger spirit, but what is it? I don't know. So slowly he touches. So this guy turns and looks at him. And then this guy starts getting a little bit more, you know, grabs his newspaper, starts kind of interacting with him, shouting at him, talking to him. And this man who's been looking in this direction, the very, very successful old gentleman, turns and looks at him. I thought an eruption was, you know, imminent, going to happen. This man, the homeless man stands up. This man stands up as well. He takes the newspaper from his hand. He folds it. And then opens his arms, and grabs him in a hug. I have never seen a tighter hug in my life. I have never seen an expression of love towards someone that is such a stranger, and someone who obviously didn't come from the same background and didn't have the same social and economic background as you in that train. But the hug was real. The love was exuding. The 70-year-old gentleman was crying. The homeless man who was being hugged, who hugged him back, was crying. The train was crying. There was something so magical in this expression of love towards human beings, divinity existing in everybody, that it is very hard to explain. But one thing did happen that explained this to me. The song, you know, how many of you go through life with a soundtrack in your head? You know, when you get up in the morning and you have to do something, there's a song with high beats that is playing to kind of get you into that ride. When you're in your car, you're probably, you know, playing some high-intensity bhajans or some songs with some beats. Towards the evening, you're playing a different mellow song. You know, your life is completely organized to music, sound beat, at least mine is. So the song that erupts in the background, and the line that erupts is, Un solo Dios reinará, un solo Dios nos amará. There is one God who reigns over all of us. And there's one God who just loves us. That is the sentiment. And this happens because we are able to see God outside the confines of just what is traditionally deemed divinity. And that capability comes to us because of Swami's grace and Swami's message. To see divinity in everybody around us. Un solo Dios eres tú. Eres tú, mi Señor, Jesucristo Mahavira, un solo Dios nos ama. Jehová, oh Allah, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Sai, Zoroastro, Guru Nanak, Mazda, Buddha, Narayana, Satya Sai Baba nos unirá en una sola humanidad. Un solo Dios reinará, un solo Dios nos amará. Un solo Dios eres tú, mi Señor. Jesucristo Mahavira, un solo Dios y nada más. Jehová, oh Allah, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Sai, Zoroastro, Guru Nanak, Mazda, Buddha, Narayana. Satya Sai Baba nos unirá en una sola humanidad. Un solo Dios reinará, un solo Dios nos amará. Un solo Dios reinará. Un solo Dios nos amará. Satya Sai Baba. So Satya Sai Baba nos unirá, unites us en una sola humanidad, into one humanity. Un solo Dios reinará. One God rules over all of us. Un solo Dios nos amará. One God loves us all. So, when you start this journey of looking at Swami everywhere, and you see Swami present himself and express his divinity in a number of different ways, then there is only one thing left to do, and that is to see Swami in ourselves. To give ourselves the power, the responsibility, and the purpose of why we have taken this human existence. To realize the innate divinity in us. Why we are members of this organization. The only requirement to be a true member of this organization. And in order to see Swami in ourselves, there is one big step we have to take. Not only do we need to have faith in God, we have to trust Him. How many of you have heard the phrase, fake it till you make it? Yeah? Right. And what a better way to fake it till we make it. Why should we be divinity? Why are we divinity? Because Swami tells us so. Right? And so what should we do? Fake it till we make it. Do everything in our power to move ourselves, make choices, pray, ask for grace, such that we can be just strong examples. We can be little repositories of Swami, that we can exude His brilliance and His light. Right? That is the purpose of our life. Swami says, there is only one who can protect you, and that is the Supreme Lord. To seek His protection, you must wholeheartedly pray. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May all the beings in all the worlds be happy. There is a time in my parents' life, now fast forward 25 years, and this is something that happened in their life, a Shahul Hamid-like incident, that actually really strongly reconnected their faith to Swami and reconnected their own purpose to their lives around being repositories of divinity. My parents used to work in a town called Austin, Minnesota. They managed a property there, and it was about 80 miles away from where my sister lived, which was Winona, Minnesota. And they would drive up and down between Austin and Winona to visit my sister, but also that thing which parents crave a lot, grandchildren. Their grandchildren were in Winona, and they were 80 miles away. They wouldn't be anywhere else. So they would go and visit the grandchildren and come back to Austin and do this. They wanted to live independently for a long time, and they were doing this. And they would do this trip in a nice blue Ford Escort, which was also a hatchback. A little hatchback car, and they would do this time and time and time again. So, fast forward to one such time when they were returning from my sister's place, and they were coming in this Ford Escort back on the path. And they were playing bhajans. Their practice was always to play bhajans between, it's 80 miles. So as you can imagine, one CD with 75 minutes or so, perfect, end to end. So they were playing a CD, and there was one particular bhajan that was playing. And they were noticing rain was increasing on their way, slowly but surely. And there was one bhajan that was playing. This bhajan has become a bhajan that shall not be named in our house. Like how many of you are Harry Potter fans in the room? Yes. Just like there is a person there that cannot be named, we can't take this name of this bhajan because we fear that it's going to have bad consequences. Every time this bhajan has been played in the background or something has happened. So I won't tell you the bhajan. This is not the bhajan I'm going to break out singing right now. Not happening. But when this bhajan was playing, they saw the rain was increasing more and more and more. And it got to a place where the rain had created a flood. Water was rising. And this is I-90. It's not a side road. It's a interstate. And this water rose and rose over the car and pushed the car across the west lanes. They were going east. Pushed the car across the west lanes and dropped them into a ditch. And it didn't stop there. The car went in this way. This is the front of the car. And now water was entering the car. So not only did the accident happen with with just forces of nature, now they're in a position where they're in a car and they're seeing it fill up with water. The doors are jammed. They are basically stuck. Both of them get out of their seat belts and they move to the back seat because the back seat is a little higher than the front. The front of the car is in the mud. And they're seeing the water come up slowly. They're seeing it hit their ankles, their knees. They're sitting there. And in that moment, the first reaction they have is worldly. And my mother says, "Oh, I think this is it." In a very calm, centered voice, she says, "I think this is it. I think our lives are ending." And my mother says, "I wish the kids were around, that they at least knew that we were going." They're going to have no idea that this is happening to us. This is my mother. And then my father says, again, in this moment where the water is coming up, slowly working its way up, he says, "We are sparks of the divine. If it is our time to go, we should go just focusing on Swami. We should use this opportunity." So they agreed that they should use this opportunity in contemplation of Swami and say, "Swami wants us to be divine. Let us try to do that. Let's not be worried about this water. Let's rise above it and just focus on this light." So they both in their loudest voices start saying, "Sai Ram," like this almost rapturous Sai Ram is coming out of them because they truly, truly thought it was time. Out of nowhere comes a cop car in the opposite direction. The cop car braved flood watches. The cop car was told by another car that went before them that they hadn't seen even, that, "Hey, I think there is one more car coming behind us. I'm not sure what's happening to that." So the cop car comes on the west side. From the corner of his eyes, he sees that this car is in the water. He signs my parents to move away from the door. He uses his baton to break the door. He brings my parents out, and the car completely goes under. And then the cop says, "I don't know why I came." My mom and dad say, "How did you come here?" He says, "Something just prompted me to come and look up this stretch of the highway." And then the next morning in the papers, actually, they used a term that we can recognize. It says, "Miracle saves immigrant couple on I-90." And it's the most beautiful part of this is the miracle word came not from us. We truly believe it's a miracle, but it came from the world, kind of reinforcing. But what it gave my parents, the power, is this constant faith that whatever happens to these bodies, whatever these bodies go through, it is okay. It is okay. Our purpose is bigger. Why we are here is bigger. And they have said this time and time again. When I get very stressed about some things, they'll be like, "Doesn't matter. It's fine. De-stress, Sunil." Right? So the expression that we are divine and our purpose in life is to realize that divinity, and the moment where they had this connection where they realized it is exactly what makes them remember that event and kind of live their lives with a little bit of that, yes, this is our purpose going forward right now. But this story doesn't end there. There was a message there for me as well. And many years later, I would hear the bhajan that shall not be named. And immediately I'll have a reaction. Like literally my hands will freeze and I'll be like, start looking out for our cars backing out of things and what is happening. So once I went through this experience where I told myself, your parents who had that experience took away such a positive lesson. Like Swami is in us, we are divine, we need a bigger purpose. I said, you heard this story from them, you weren't even there. And you're freaking out about this song, like this is so counterproductive. Like you should take a lesson from that. So I decided that I will have an antidote song. Right? So wherever this song happens in life, there will be an antidote song. And so I will sing that antidote song and I'll feel better about it. And slowly as I started getting invited to talk, I would always sing the antidote song as part of the talk to say, this is how I realize that I can overcome this obstacle, danger. So if I look at it metaphorically, what it means to me is, there's lots of things that will happen in the world around me that can unnerve me. But by keeping Swami, I can realize that piece of divinity and get above all of that. That's what that song represents to me. So, but this is where the story becomes even more beautiful. Ever since then, brothers and sisters, like every time the bhajan that shall not be named is played, this antidote song will appear on its own, magically. So, for example, once it was playing in, I listened to a lot of Prasanthi bhajans while driving. It was playing, so I quickly switched to the next day. I was like, I stopped the song and switched to the next day, and I moved the marker, to go after the Vedam to the place where bhajans are, and it went directly to this song. Once I was driving 2 bhajans, and I basically, usually I check the list of all of the bhajans before I go in because I want to know who's singing when, for repeating, if I don't know the songs, I'll practice it and learn it before I go to bhajans. This particular session, I didn't know who was singing what. Driving to bhajans and that song, the song that makes me nervous, played. I had Ganesha that day. So I was so, my heart was thumping. I go and I sit and I sing Ganesha. And the very next song is an uncle singing the antidote song. Very next song. So now I believe that all we have to do is give ourselves permission to experience the divine in us at all times. And we can transcend any fear that comes our way. I truly do believe this. This is a small example, but it does give me that confidence. And it should give us all this confidence, mainly because Swami has said, trust me, you are divine. Realize that divinity. So I would like to end with the antidote song. No, this is can you give me a D? Sai Ram, Ghanshyam, Bhagavan Tumhara Naam. तुम बिन कोई नहीं रखवाले, तुम बिन कोई नहीं आपत सहारे, तुम बिन प्रेम कोई नहीं देने वाले, तुम हो मेरे आत्मा राम बाबा, तुम हो मेरे आत्मा राम बाबा, भगवान तुम्हारा नाम, साई राम तुम्हारा नाम। I am God, I am God, I am no different from God. supreme, the one reality. I am Sachidananda Swarupa. I am Om Tat Sat Om. I am love, I am truth, I am peace eternally. Love, I am truth, peace eternally. I am ever pure delight, I am always full and free. Fear or grief can never touch me. I am Om Tat Sat Om. I am Om Tat Sat Om. I am God. I am God. I am no different. Again, my most humble pranams at the divine lotus feet of Bhagavan. Thank you, Swami, for this opportunity, and thank you for providing us all the opportunity to spend this divine Aradhana Mahotsavam with each other. Sai Ram.